Hi, welcome back. Take two. So we're going to be talking about, guys, what makes the Pre90secs system really work. So to get you on board with me, I'm going to take you back to the beginning of my journey, which I'm going to go slightly less far back than I did in take one. So we're going to start by just saying that I, in my mid-30s, realized that I had not developed the skill of self-confidence. And so I went on a YouTube search to figure out how one can develop this. And I pretty quickly realized that there's a lot of different ways to look at the issue. And I was also, at the same time, realizing while my confidence was pretty low, that honestly my skills with girls were pretty low. Like, I didn't really know how to talk to girls. And so I was on YouTube trying to figure that stuff out. And there was a very strong correlation, as you might imagine, between the ability to talk to girls and being a confident person. And so I ended up on a podcast, and this particular podcast was cool because it was geared towards men and their skills towards women, but it wasn't like a how to manipulate girls into getting laid kind of thing. It was how to become the kind of man that women are attracted to and the kind of man that can maintain a healthy relationship. And so part of this podcast is, the way they fund these things is typically the host of the podcast will bring in somebody with something to sell in the first portion of the podcast, some kind of a commercial. And this particular day, there was a commercial for an exercise program called My Mobile Minute that really piqued my curiosity. The guy that was giving the commercial, he was talking for a while and giving his explanations about how this works and why. And I remember towards the end of his commercial, he ended with something like, if you will just work out for 90 seconds before you eat, you will see results. Sure, go to the website, sign up, and we'll give you the exercises. We'll give you the meal plans. We'll give you this. But, and it was that but that really stuck with me, but if you'll just work out for 90 seconds before you eat, you will get results. And as he talked more and more, I became less and less convinced because his arguments for me were not sound. I'm going to spare you what those were for now, but let's just say I wasn't satisfied. Until the host of the show, he popped up with something like, guys, I just want to tell you, I know this dude. He's a friend of mine. And he does not look like this. Like, I don't know this guy in here who's walking in with his 28-inch waist and his V-shaped back, but I do know him, and if this is how he said he did it, man, I believe him. And so I got on the Mobile Minute website and I looked at it, and again, just not impressed, but again, the testimony from the host of the show was so powerful that I was really convinced to some extent. So I had to reverse engineer for myself why this would work, if indeed it did work. And so as I started thinking about it, I came up with a theory. I'm going to share that with you in a bit. But before that theory, I'm going to give you a little bit of my personal journey, because the theory didn't mean shit to me if it didn't follow, or if it didn't fulfill the following criteria. The question I had to ask myself was, if this thing works, if I can actually eat whatever I want, as long as I work out first, is this something that I could do forever? Or at least for as long as being in physically good shape was important to me. And I thought about it and I decided, I think I could. I've been an athlete before and I know what doing push-ups is like. So I decided that I would give it a try. And it was this theory that was the convincing element to me. So I want you to go on a quick journey with me. If any of you guys that ever watch nature shows, any of those Animal Planets or Deep Blue Seas, or I want you to focus on the land animals for now, but I want you to pick one. And I want you to have the image of this animal out in nature eating. And I want you to picture its jaws, just going to town. And then I want you to ask yourself, what is that animal eating? Is it eating grass, or is it eating some kind of blood? Has he had a bunch of blood on his mouth? Some sort of plant or some sort of animal. Now, you probably already know where I'm going, because Dr. Atkins made the same observation a while back, that if the food is an animal, then the eater of the food is likely a pretty lean animal. And if the animal is eating vegetables, or some sort of vegetation, then it's probably not a very lean animal. It probably carries a lot more fat storage on its body. And I'm sure that Dr. Atkins went to a lot of scientific rigor to prove his theories. And I don't really know where people landed on that, because it didn't really matter, because it pretty much ended up that the program wasn't useful anyways, because as my mother once pointed out, all the sour cream, cheese, and bacon bits isn't really that great if you don't have a baked potato to put it on. A high protein, no carb diet is so, for most people, it's so unsustainable that it just doesn't even matter if the theory is true. But being aware of the concept that correlation does not equal causation, I want to bring up another point. Things that are made of meat don't like being eaten. They tend to run before they're eaten, and only if they're chased down and caught do they end up food. The thing is, guys, that the animals that chase their food in the wild, the ones that have to chase before they eat, those are your lean animals. The ones that graze all day long, those are the ones that carry on the fat storage. So without knowing the mechanism, people often ask me, is it like your metabolism gets kicked into gear? Is it this chemical process and how your body identifies these starches? And I honestly, guys, I'm developing so little patience for those questions, because it doesn't matter. Like, your body and my body is this unbelievably complex, awesome survival machine. And just like you don't have to know the names that we as humans have assigned the chemicals and the biological and cellular process when your pupils dilate, you just know that when you're in the sunshine and it's bright, your pupils, they contract. When you're in the dark, they get bigger. And you can kind of reason without even a lot of scientific experiments, there's probably something to do with the light being let in. But in any case, you don't need to understand the process to understand the function. And that's what I want you to understand about your body in terms of fitness. Guys, your body is not thinking in terms of carbs and meats and so forth. I mean, I'm sure that it does different things with those, but if you just put all of that theory aside, just put it all aside and just ask yourself, or experiment with yourself, this idea that if you chase everything you eat, what you're doing is you're drawing a Pavlovian conditioning, guys, this is part of it, is that you're telling your body that getting food, which your body already knows is 100% essential to survival, when you don't get it, your body goes through the most severe pain possible, which is hunger. But when you don't get that, guys, what I want you to understand is, oh my God, brain come back. This is gonna happen. Your body already knows that your food is required for its survival. So when you can convince your body that athletic activity is required to get that food, your body starts to associate athletic activity required for survival, and what's required for athletic activity is an athletic physique. Your body will naturally put yourself in the condition that you ask it to, especially when it can draw the correlation to survival. Okay, so this is something that I'm putting forth as a theory. I want you guys to digest it, I want you to think about it, and I want your thoughts. And I want to leave you with this one. I am going to suggest to you that if you chase your cake, you can have it and eat it too. Thanks for tuning in.